Assalamu alaikum to all of my students. Hope you all are fine. Today I am going to discuss the central problems of an economy. Central problems of an economy. Central problem of an economy. Central problems of an economy. First, I will tell you why these problems arise in every economy. It is due to the scarcity of resources. Our resources are scarce and wants are unlimited. Wants are unlimited. Unlimited. Meaning due to the scarcity of resources, our wants are unlimited. That gives a, that gives a problem. That creates a problem of choice. Problem of choice. Means our resources are secure, wants are unlimited. Now we have to choice. Which good producer has to make choice in which goods to invest. Consumer has to make choice which goods to buy, which goods to purchase. As due to the scarcity of resources, it is not possible for every economy to produce every good he wishes to produce. Due to limited or we can say scarcity of resources, he has to produce limited quantity of goods and services. As he cannot produce everything he wishes to produce due to scarcity of resources. For example, land, labor, and capital. Land, labor, and capital. These are limited in quantity. These are limited. That is why he cannot produce everything he wishes to produce. Definitely he has to make the choice. That choice we call in economic terminology rational management. Rational management of resources. Rational management of resources. Meaning producer has to make choice to invest only those goods where he get maximum profit. Maximum profit. Similarly, consumer has to purchase only those goods where he get maximum maximum satisfaction. Why he get maximum satisfaction. That we call rational management. Meaning if resources are secure, wants are unlimited, then it creates a problem of choice. Now it is up to the producer or it is up to the consumer. It is up to the producer that he has to invest only in those areas where he gets maximum profit. Similarly, consumer has to purchase only those goods where he gets maximum satisfaction. Only to buy or purchase those goods where he gets maximum satisfaction. Now, first problem that arises in every economy, that is what to produce. First one, what to produce. First one, what to produce. As I tell you, due to scarcity, due to limited resources, producer cannot produce everything he wishes to produce. Has to keep in mind the rational use of resources. Meaning only to produce those goods where he get maximum satisfaction, where he get maximum profit. And it is his choice. He has a choice to produce consumer goods and capital goods. Means he can produce consumer goods or he can produce capital goods. But there's a restriction or limitation that I call, yes, रेशनल, अभी भी मैं कह रहा था रेशनल मैनेजमेंट. Due to this scarcity, he cannot produce at the same time both the goods, X and Y. As due to limited quantity of resources, limited resource, if he produces more of X, then definitely he has to produce less of Y. As only two goods, X and Y. If he produces more of Y, then definitely he has to produce less of X. As due to the limitation, due to limited resource. So he cannot produce both the goods at the same time. Now I will write down the statement. Due to scarcity of resources, producer cannot produce everything he wishes to produce. Everything he wishes to produce. He has to put in practice. He has to put in practice rational use of resources. Means producer can produce, I will add, producer can produce two types of goods. Produce two kinds of goods. Either he can produce, I will write, either he can produce consumer goods or he can produce capital goods. He has a choice. He can produce consumer goods or he can produce capital goods. Consumer goods, I will give example. AC or TV. Here we can machines, capital goods. He has a choice. He can produce, either he can produce consumer goods or he can produce capital goods. Means kinds of goods. Now, second one. How much goods he can produce? Means quantity of goods. As I tell you, he cannot produce more of the quantity of X and more of quantity of Y. But if he produces more of X, definitely he has to produce less of Y, as he has a limited quantity of resources. I will write, producer cannot produce both the goods at the same time. Produce both the goods at the same time. Logic, due to scarcity of resources. Producing X, producing more of X, producing more of X, then he has to produce has to produce less of Y. Less of Y. Due to the scarcity of resources, limited resources. He cannot produce both in more quantity, in large quantity, both the goods. Therefore, if he produce more of X, he has to produce less of Y. If he produce more of Y, then he has to produce less of X. And I write, and if he produce more of Y, then he has to produce less of X. Less of X. Then it is possibility he can produce both the goods. Then it is possibility he can produce both the goods. Now, second one. Second one is how to produce. Second one, how to produce. Now, there's a choice of technique. Choice of technique. For example, labor intensive technique and capital intensive technique. Labor intensive technique, capital intensive technique. Depending upon the producer, which type of technique he will utilize in order to produce goods and service. He can utilize labor intensive technique. He has a choice. He can use capital intensive technique. Where he feel best. But in two techniques, or labor intensive technique, capital intensive technique, the efficient technology is one. Efficient technology is one which uses less inputs for given level of output in order to gain minimum cost. Means he has to bear minimum cost to produce that good or service. When it uses less inputs and produce more level of output, it's beneficial for the producer as he has to bear minimum cost to produce that good or service. Now, I will write how to produce means choice of technique. Choice of technique of production. Choice of technique of production. This producer can utilize labor intensive technique. Labor intensive technique. Labor intensive technique. He has a choice. He can utilize labor intensive technique in order to produce labor intensive goods and service. Right. Producer can utilize labor intensive technique to produce consumer goods. Similarly, he can use second one, capital intensive technique. Capital intensive technique. He can use capital intensive technique to produce capital goods and services. Producer can utilize capital intensive technique to produce capital goods and service. Capital goods and, for example, machines. Right, for understanding machines. You can produce different types of machines. last line which I write to conclude this lecture. I will write with a red marker, and efficient technology is one, and efficient technique is one, and efficient technique is one, which uses less inputs, less inputs for given level of output to bear minimum cost to producer. एफिशिएंट टेक्नोलॉजी हम उसी टेक्नोलॉजी को कहेंगे जिसमें प्रोड्यूसर हैज टू yes use less inputs for a given level of output in order to produce that good at minimum cost. In that good or service, producer has a benefit to get maximum profit. One concept remains: for whom to produce. I will take that concept in next lecture. Till that time, you have to wait and watch. I will be coming soon. Hope for the best. Take care. Thanks. Have a nice day.